Hello, Kirsty and Sutton. Yay. Oh, you guys, this has been so crazy. So crazy. I'm so glad I'm here. Yay. I'm like, I made it. I made it. That's how I feel today. Hi. I feel good that I am here. Okay. I'm in the city now. And I'm at my son's house, and I hope it's not too echoey because it's like he's got no furniture really, a little bit of furniture, but it's very echoey in here. And I have to deliver this training from my son's house because right after this we have some Christmas festivities at my in-laws, so they're all there already, and which is fine. Like I am happy to be here with you. Like this is going to be a really good session. And so then after that, I'm going to take off from here. So I've got a little bit of a different background. But I was like signing cards in the car like on the way here, and then the bag broke. So I had this bag of stuff and it, like this, just like a little bit of soap because my friend makes soaps and I had some I wanted to give to my in-laws. So the bag broke at the bottom. I'm like, oh my gosh. So anyway, I made it. Yay! Yay! Oh, so fun though.
Crazy.
Yes. And I'm actually feeling really like, you know how those things can make you really cranky and not have any fun. And I just like, I'm having fun. It was funny when the bag broke. It was actually, nothing wrecked. So, it was good. It's all good. It's all about perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
How are you doing, Kirsty and Sutton?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Good.
Yeah, thanks for being here. It's sort of a crazy time. I know Dory was going to try to make it, but she said she's got like company, and then Anne has something to do today, but she's going to try and pop in. And I didn't hear from anybody else. Tiffany tried to call me on Friday, and I tried to get back to her, but I don't know if she's going to make it. She never did yet. But she's going to actually be taking the whole session over again, like that she's going to be going to all of the next ones. So you haven't even had a chance to meet her. I'm so sad you didn't. You will, because they're like Courtney met once, Heather hasn't been able to make it. So, as you stay in there, you'll get to know, I think, the other people and then the new people as well. So that'll be really good. I'm looking forward to that because like I keep saying, I just gush over you, all of you, all the time, that I think every time I think of each and every one of you, I just smile because I think, wow. And if we could ever get together, this group of women, it's just like, yay. Wow. It's just
I've been thinking that. We need to.
We really do. Like that energy would just be so powerful. It would be very exciting. And I just,
yay.
Yeah. And so anyway, that is, something to shoot for in the future for sure. And I don't mean like 10 years down the road either. So, but I think that, and I think that, since we'll have a chance to chit chat and stuff. I'm just going to move this a little, chit chat a little bit more. I'm going to sit back and, chit chat a little more before we're done. So I'm just going to kind of start talking right now, and then just I'm going to share my screen and just get started with that stuff, and then we'll know how much time we have at the end, just to kind of, if we have any, we have some time for questions, like, getting all sort of wrapped up, I guess. Just sort of, well, not just sort of, but very crazy, because that was lots to do, I know, for everybody, but it just went so fast. It just went so fast. Okay, so I'm going to share this, and I'm recording, and I'm going to, I think I will turn off my video so I don't have to watch myself. Although, okay, make that small, but then I won't be able to see you. So I'm just going to move that over. Okay, so this is Module 6, Lesson 4 already. And what we're going to do today is just go through the practicum and final assessment, and then the final exam. So we're going to walk through those two things. Then we have a few things I'd like to do with you. So this is a link to this summary. So wait a sec. I'm going to put this in the chat box in case you don't want to follow it in the same pace that I do. So I'm just going to throw it in there in case you want to open that up on your computer. All it is a link to this very thing, Module 6, Lesson 4. Kind of like how sometimes I do, just throw it in there for you. If anytime that you want to, like I said, go ahead or behind, or if I'm not really keeping up, what you want to look at. All right, so at this point, our last official session of our basic training, I would love to gather some feedback, okay? So I want to know how this experience has been for you, and just be honest. I know I actually am probably aware of most of the problems. You know, I have an idea. You know, I know the functionality of the online course wasn't that great. And it's just the way it's set up. And I'm not a pro in that exact program. Like, I was learning it as I went. So I'm going to try and figure out how I can make the functionality a little better. But I'm not even sure if it's worth a ton of time doing that, because I think most of us use the Google Doc. So, and just as quick reference, it was just faster. You don't have to move through the course, but sometimes people like to do that and they pace themselves and they want to know what they've done, and it checks things off. But, you know, like for quick reference, I found that Google Doc for me even was really handy, because I go, oh, where are we at now? And where's that, you know, file? Like, even for me to go through all my folders, I just go there and click on it, and there it was. So, you know, but you don't have to tell me now. What I want to know, so there's a link there. I'm going to actually send you the survey as well. So I'm going to put that into the Facebook group. And so you'll just have to you can just click on there and give me the feedback that you want to give. So the survey, I'll actually show you right now what it looks like. So let me see, I'm going to have to click on it, I think. And my computer's a little slow because I have just a few things on there. Too many things. Sometimes I go to my search bar and it'll erase the whole search bar because it's too much. Like, I think it's because there's so much stuff on there that it doesn't even, like, it's not able to perform that function. I don't know. Anyway, okay, so here, when you click on the survey, your name is optional, but it's such a small group. Like, it's probably going to be obvious who it is. You don't have to tell me it's you, especially if you're like, this stunk and I'm eh. You know, if you had like some things you wanted to say, I'm open I want to improve this program as much as I can. So I want to be able to implement all of the suggestions that you make. I trust each and every one of you that you're tactful and you're kind. And even if you say things that aren't so great, you know, that needs to be improved about the program, I'm not going to take it as a criticism. I will take it as feedback that's going to just benefit me. So, and again, I'm pretty sure that most of the things you'll say I'm aware of. So I really just need you to, like, you know, I guess not really back it up, but just really, you know, tell me I'm on the right track. I guess, you know, like where I'm on the right track as far as like the positive aspects of the program, and where I'm on the right track as far as like where I need to improve. And so that's what I would really like you to do, is just be honest. So yeah, your name is optional. Anything that has a star, if you've ever done Survey Monkey, it's really simple. Survey Monkey. I didn't even put like my logo on here. I just, you know, it's just meant to be simple. I just want to get some words on paper. And so was the program what you expected according to the materials that were presented to you during the program launch? If not, how is it different? I asked you this question because I need to know, like, now I'm going into the campaign in January to recruit more people, like, for our army, right? And so I want to know if, you know, if that was effective the last time for you. And like, I think a lot of you said that you knew who I was, and you'd seen, you know, heard some stuff like on the summit or wherever, or interviews that I'd given. And that's where you found out, you know, about me. And then when you saw this, that was like, almost like it was, you knew that that's what you wanted to do. So it's really, I would be interested to know if it was anything that you were looking at, and like, you know, if it was new, like if I was kind of new to you, and if what I said about the program was actually what actually happened in the program. So was it what you expected? Was it more? Was it less? Was it, you know, a different format that you would have expected? Were the materials different? Was the outlook different? Like, were you surprised by anything? And then because it's going to give me some insight as to how to present it to new trainees or potential trainees, so that they kind of know what they're going to be getting, but not, you know, I don't want to be giving it all, like, you know, obviously, but I mean, I want them to know what this is. And if I was really clear when I was, I guess, communicating about it before in the fall. So Ita, we're just going through the Survey Monkey survey that I'm going to be sending you guys soon. And then the next question I had was, how can I, obviously Carla, make the program better? Tell me what things did not work well for you. So was it like, delivery method, materials, online functionality, group environment, Facebook page, pace of the program? I think pace might be an issue. But then is there an alternative? Like, the pace was pretty fast, but then could we have done it long, like spread out over a year? But then that might be too long, for people to commit, to just send people running. So maybe it was better that it was kind of a little bit more intense. So I want you to just kind of think about that and let me know what you think. And then I might be able to, in the future, offer it in a couple of different ways for people, like a 12-month pace or 6 months. I don't know if I'm going to do that because that might just be too much work for me. But, I'll be able to decide what I need to do about the pace. But I know that there was a lot of people said, woof, like, I don't know, I'm not keeping up. And, but, and then access to me, my presentations, like in anything, that you could suggest or think that would be better for those things, anything like that. And those are just some suggestions of things that you can comment on. Like that was just things I thought of on the top of my head. And then please tell me what you might suggest for improvement. Okay. And then I did this one next because I want to end on positive stuff. So what did you like about the program? So now that we got that out of the way, what wasn't so good? What did you like? So please tell me what things did work well for you. So again, delivery method, materials, online functionality, group, like all these things. Which ones did you like about the program? And so I should actually read that whole thing because I keep forgetting that some people listen to the audio. Okay, so which things worked well for you? So what is it? Was it the delivery methods, materials, online functionality, group environment, Facebook page, pace of the program, access to me, Carla's presentations, whatever. Like what worked for you? Maybe the like the student presentations or the extra stuff. I mean, like whatever you found to be really beneficial, what worked for you, for both your learning and that you found was interesting. Yeah, please let me know. And then number 5, do you think your experience of the program would have been better had it been sectioned off into levels, or do you think it is best as a comprehensive program? Kind of going back to that question of pace, like not necessarily how fast it was, but the volume of materials. Like it was suggested to me by one of these marketing people that I was interviewing, and I wasn't really sure if that was the way I wanted to go, but he said, oh yeah, make your book super small. And it's going to act like a business card and you get a bestseller and people, and yeah, I get that. And maybe I'll do a small one, but this is not the book that I've been working on. Right. But, and also the program, like he said, maybe, you should section it off. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I could, do like level 1, level 2, or like mind and body, blah, 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 or no, body and then mind. But then like, it doesn't give you the it's like being a specialist, and like going to like a gastroenterologist and going to a neurologist. And, like to me, it wasn't cohesive. And so, but maybe, if you found that it would work better if I did something like that, if you were to take it again, or which you probably all will, like, in some form, some way or another, like
yeah.
if we were to do all over again, would you have said, oh, okay, this little chunk would have been manageable to do together, this little chunk, and then you get your certificate, you have levels of certification. But quite frankly, just as you're answering this question, you give me all the feedback you think, but for me, and what I want you to know before you even start working with people is like level 1 wouldn't get you to what you need to know to work with people. Like that's why I did such a comprehensive program. But again, if people felt like, well, I'm not certified yet, but I do have it's like having your first year of university. I've done my first year, I'm going to go back. But then it would take someone like 10 years because they'd be like, so those are just I shouldn't even said that. I should have just let you reply to that question first. But I want to know if you thought of, like, oh yeah, this would have been better if it would have been, chunked off or sectioned off, in a different way. So just let me know what you think about that. Then I was asking you to for sure, give me feedback about that question in particular. Number 6, you don't have to do, but you can if you want. So if you'd like to provide a testimonial that I can use for our next launch, please provide it below. Okay, so your name will not be used unless you want it to be, and it's not required. You don't have to do it, but I would appreciate it if you felt like you had something honest to say. If you don't, like, honestly, it's not a big deal, and especially if you're just like, even if you're just not a writer and or if you don't have the time right now, that's fine. That's totally fine. But if you do have anything to say, I'm just going to record it here so that I have them, and I'm just going to compile them. And then, so number 7, if you have any further comments, please spill them here. So just let her rip if you have anything else to tell me, and then that's it. That's all that I have for the survey for you. So yeah, if you could do that for me, I would appreciate that. All right. So
where is it? That's over here. Okay.
Oh yeah, this what I have up now. This is sort of like my notes for this lesson. So we're just going through all these items on this list as we go through here today, Ita. And so then the link that I threw in there in the chat box, that's just a link to this very page, so that if you want to, look through it at a different pace than me, go ahead. Okay, so fill out the survey, and then let's walk through the practicum and the final assessment. And so I gave this assignment to you, I don't know, weeks ago. And it's been on the Google Doc for a while. I think I posted it in the Facebook group, and it's now in the course upload, like it's in the course. So it's in that final course, like today's lesson. And so I'm just gonna bring it up here, and we'll go through it here, just sort of like step by step a little bit. So here's the assignment, the HFF Practitioner Training Program, assignment 3, which is the practicum. And so I say congratulations, you're ready to help people get well. In order to do this, you must practice the art of coaching and health detective work before opening your practice. That's one thing I really wish I would have done I've never done that with any of my trainings. I know some of the newer ones, or the ones that are affiliated with like Functional Medicine University, they require that. But, and actually I think like ADAPT requires that too, and maybe like there's a few more I know that that's Chris Kresser's program. There's a few more that do as well, but none of the ones I did actually required me to do a practicum. But some of the exams were pretty extensive. Like I know FDN, the exam was a fairly extensive exam, and we also had an oral component, I'm pretty sure, but no practicum. And I really felt like I don't know what I was doing really, like, and to be able to work through things with people. But I mean, again, I actually learned most of what I know, not actually from working with people, but doing my own stuff, my own work, going through all this stuff myself, actually. But I think that even if you don't have all these challenges, hopefully you don't, and you don't have to go through all this stuff yourself, us doing this together will better prepare you for that. And this is only the first time that we're going to be doing that. There's another assignment that I think that was assignment 2. There was another assignment where you were supposed to make up like a mock, plan for somebody. And that I think is another way to practice that. And then we'll be doing that in the final, but I'll be telling you about that in just a second. So in fact, every client will bring you challenges, experiences, and learning, even years down the road when you think you've seen and learned it all. Like, it's just always going to happen. That's the nature of the work. This practicum is designed to give you experience in the act and art of coaching while being under the supervision of yours truly and having my full support. So there's an art to it. There's no plug and play. And so the more, I think it's like having an adaptability to be good at this kind of thing. It's like where it's not like you can, learn a specific protocol. Like, there's a structure for sure. But you're always going to have to be practicing the art, there is an art to it. And you'll always have to be researching and finding out more, because we'll never start off with more. Like, this is although everybody thought it was a lot of material and it was 6 months, and we're just barely scratching the surface of things that we could. So really, we have identified areas that we need to address. And then as we just deepen our knowledge with every single case that comes to us. So, it might seem like at first, that first year, it's like, wow, I really spent a lot of time working on these clients. But, with every time it's like if you taught a class, and I think actually every one of us here has done that. If you've taught a class, the next time is easier, and the next time is easier, and then you just tweak and you add, and then whatever new things you learn, you put that in as well. So it's the same, with coaching. And then, so here are the details of that actual assignment. So with a willing client, find a willing client and work with them for 5 weeks on their health goals. And I extended it to 5 weeks. Okay. So originally it was 4, but I think that first week it's just like get to know you, and they're going to have to go through that intake form and all that stuff. And it's just going to cut into the time. And, to tell you the truth, you may, and I'm open to this as I'm open to a lot of things, you may want to extend that work with that person after that. And I'll be here for you as well. But I think at that point, you may want to start charging. But this first month isn't meant to be like, oh, I'm going to reverse everything, in a month, because as we know, like, depends what you're working on. If you have a family that just wants to get a little healthier, that's fine. You can get them like really well on their way in that time. But if you're finding like, you're like unload, there's that layer to the onion and you're going peel, 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 peel. And you're going, wow, this is actually not as simple as I thought. We thought we were dealing with a little acne, and now we're dealing with, gut, leaky gut. And then we're finding markers for autoimmunity. Like, maybe it's a little more complicated than I thought. There is that option to just keep going a little longer. If you haven't had a chance to meet with the person as much as you were supposed to in that first month, like, there's some flexibility there, with scheduling. So that's fine. But we just don't want to do a year. Like, at that point, they're going to be your official client, and they're going to be paying you for, your time. Also, do not choose an extensively complex case unless you're confident that you'll be able to help, and you and your client are aware that 5 weeks is only enough time to begin to work on complex health challenges, right? So we're going to get through the intake process. We're going to get through the initial steps, and step 1 for sure. And then maybe into step 2, but probably we'll do step 1 of their plan. All right. So, however, you are more than welcome to work with clients with complex cases on the basics, such as lifestyle and nutrition and beneficial therapies that will become the foundation for their subsequent health overhaul. And I'm also going to add another caveat to that, is that if you are trained, like, let's say, like, I know Sutton's doing some training in therapy. Let's say you're done that, Sutton, and you wanted to work with someone more, that you actually have the expertise to work with, that's fine with me too. Okay, so, and then to complete this assignment, you must run your proposed client by me for approval. First do that, and then schedule and execute a 30-minute meet and greet with your client where you will explain the practicum and prepare them for your work together. Send them the document HFF practicum client information sheet. So you'll find all of those links in that Google Doc that has all the links in it to all your assignments, and it's actually at the bottom. It's pretty easy to find that one, and it says materials you will need for this assignment, and then it has links to them. Number 2, have your client fill out an intake form. Please use the template provided in your course materials. Okay, so now I think I put this in there. I'm going to make sure that I did, but in that same area, these forms that you'll need, I actually put the intake form into a Google Doc, and I'm like, this is sweet. Why didn't I do this before? Because people don't have to print it. They don't have to fart around like scanning and then you lose all these things. So all I did was I put the template there, and then what you can do is you can copy it and paste it into a new Google Doc and put their name on the top and title it with their name in it. And all I do is type it right in there, right for you. Like, how sweet. And then you can make PDFs out of it, actually, if you want to actually file it onto your computer, or if you want to print it out yourself, if you're like a paper filer kind of person. So, but it's sweet because they will just do it right into a Google Doc that you create for them. So you send them the link of the Google Doc. Does anybody need like a little tutorial in creating Google Docs?
What, do they have one on Google? Is there?
Do you know how to create like to create one? Do you know how to do that, Ita? Not really? Okay, so we'll do that. We will do that at the end, okay? So we're going to put that, we're going to do that in the Q&A session, because then I can switch over my screens and show you. It'll be pretty easy. You might need a Google account. So we'll just talk about that in a sec, but okay. Probably. If you have Gmail, you'll have a Google account.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Okay, so your 5-week practicum begins the day you conduct your 1.5 initial consultation. Okay, so that's when, well, I guess actually I did plan in the initial intake form. Okay, so they've done the form, and then your 5 weeks starts after they're done the form. So, and then your initial 1.5 hour. And then so conduct a 1.5 hour initial consultation with your client to gather further information and to go over their intake form. Here's your opportunity to clarify, fill in any blanks, and ask any questions you might have for your client. This is also an opportunity for your client to ask you questions as well. So be ready for this appointment with a tentative plan that you can tweak with your client's input. Okay, so this is usually what I do too. Like this is how I usually work with clients, is that I do a meet and greet, get to know what they need, let them know and then I send them an email follow up. Here are some things. I usually give them some free things to start with and see how they do with that. And if they, because usually if they're coming to you already, they have something that's kind of urgent and they don't really, like this process takes a little bit to get set up. So I usually give them some places to start, like read this, watch this, this book might be really helpful for you. Like some initial thoughts. And that's like stuff that, obviously you're not getting paid for, you're not on the clock really, but it's sort of preliminary stuff because they're really interviewing you too, and they've got to trust that you know what you're doing. And then they have to know kind of where you're going with your thoughts, so if you have someone that's really just very conventional, and if you're thinking, homeopathy is going to be the way to go or something, like you have to know if they're open to that. And if they're not, like you have to let them know, okay, this is where my mind is going. Like, I think we should do a stool test. I think we should do, and then they're like, oh, I'm not into that at all. And then they'll know whether or not it's worth it for you to both put your time into this, building this client, practitioner relationship. So that's what I do. I usually send them an email and then say, this is what I'm thinking. And then they book this initial, they fill out the intake and then they book the initial consultation. That one's long, not because we're going, like sometimes people want to go through their form together and get some help with that. That would be probably an additional time, or you could spend some of that hour and a half with them doing that. With your practicum client though, you'll know that person already. You don't have to do a bunch of that, like, introductory stuff. So I would, I'm asking you to take that hour and a half to just really go through their intake with them after you've read it. And then you're coming to this consultation with a plan in place already. Like, this is what I think that we should look into. These are some of the things I would suggest that you could do right away. And then you come back, and then you actually email that to them after the consultation. So you explain all that and then you email that to them after, because you might tweak a little bit as you're talking to them as well. And then number 5, create the healing plan using the HFF template. So there's links to there are links to the template in that Google Doc. Send your client their plan with an emphasis on step 1 via email using a link to their own personal Google Doc, which is what I just said. Make sure their plan is laid out clearly and is sustainable. All right, so number 7, check in with your client within 1 week. Number 8, conduct your second consultation with your client at the end of week 3. So you want to check in and then you give them some more time. And then at the end of week 3, you want to have your second consultation. Because they need some time. Like, let's say you put them on a gluten-free diet, like they're not going to know that anything's changed whatsoever in like 5 days, and they're not going to have time to meet with you that often either. Even the people who are really wanting to get well, they honestly don't have time for that many appointments stacked on top of each other. So I think that's a nice spread of time. And so that second one will just be an hour. Every other one will be about an hour from then on in, unless it's like after and they want like a little 15 minutes, they have a couple of questions or something like that. Here you'll find out if your client is having any success, if they have any questions, and if they need to make any changes to their plan. And then number 9, conduct your third consultation with your client at the end of week 5. This will be 1 hour. Here you will find out if your client is having any further success. Here you will ask your clients to evaluate your services and whether their healing plans are proving to be beneficial. You have the opportunity to offer your professional services for ongoing support at this time. So number 10 is maintain email communication of reasonable length with your client throughout the month. Okay, so that's sort of ongoing. If they're like, hey, what am I supposed to say for number 5 of the intake? What exactly do you mean by that? Or they might have little questions like that along the way. And so, you can answer their questions, and, you should have a little time set aside, every day whenever you have like a client list to do that, just to go through those questions. There's always going to be questions. And I think this just really needs to be part of how we bill in the consultations, those hour consultations, that's kind of built in there. So because I mean, I'll tell you, one of my family members is trying to get information, like, and she's in a life-threatening situation, or not threatening, what I say, her life is in the balance, and time is of the essence. Let's just say that. And, you know, it's taken one of the doctors 3 weeks to get back to her about things that she should have started 3 weeks ago. So it's just like, we can't do that. And we won't have all of our clients, or not all of our clients are going to be in that situation, but definitely not comfortable, definitely needing some answers, definitely needing that support. This is the support piece that I find is really important for the people I want working under, you know, with that designation of HFF practitioner. This is what we do. Like, we're very good at this part of coaching people. We don't just tell them what to do. We kind of are there to be there with them and to answer their questions. And they're going to be trusting us to answer them. They can look it up. They can Google stuff, you know, and sometimes you might just say, you know what, that's pretty simple one. Like, you can find all kinds of foods that are gluten-free if you Google. Like, I mean, you can do that, some things, and just say, but, you know, this is my caution. Not all gluten-free stuff is healthy. You know, some of it's a lot of junk food and white paste. And, you know, you can give them that information as well, but then send them on their way for further investigation if that's something they can do on their own. But if it's, you know, if it's something that you need to convey, they need to ask you to apply to whatever, you know, plan that you've made for them. And then, yeah, we need to be able to be there for them to a reasonable length. If it's something that's going to take a while to explain, you'll just ask, you know, like for your practicum client, you'll probably have to just put the time in. For subsequent clients that are paying you, you know, you can say, well, I've got, you know, I charge whatever for like this, you know, a 15-minute, like the time it takes me to put into answering these emails, or maybe we should have another phone call, depending what it is. Okay, so number 11, write a 3 to 5 page written report. 3 to 5, that's kind of long, but just, you can stick with 3. It's okay. I mean, if you run out of stuff to say, stop writing. Don't just fill it up because, you know, Carla said 3 to 5, okay? And self-assessment that contains the following. A 1-page summary of your impression and assessment. Okay, but that's not hard to do. You've already done all that. You just plunk it into your assignment. Because you're already making an impression of your client and how you've assessed, and you've already made those notes. You did that to send to them. So you just put those notes into that document. Concluding remarks that explain what happened with your client's process. So stumbling blocks, challenges, adjustments to the original plan, special circumstances, improvement or progress, and what your next steps would be if you were to continue to work with this client. And then self-assessment, where you discuss your strengths and weaknesses when working with your client, as well as what went well and where you could improve. Okay, so yeah, so both of those things, the goods and the bads. And then PDF or link to your client's intake form. So I want to see that. I want to see the intake form, and then the PDF or link to your client's healing plan. Okay, so I want to see the plan that you actually created for your client as well. So I guess those will be like, you know, those are like, this is going to be like the, oopsies, why will it not do that? Okay, anyway, the last item on there, PDF or link to your client's healing plan, that one's like, you know, that's going to be probably a page or something, you know what I mean? So it actually wouldn't be that hard to fill up 3 to 5 pages for this assignment. All right, so that's that. Let's move on to the final exam. So we're going to walk through that now. And here we go. It's a doozy. Don't run, don't run. And you know why I do this? Okay, this is why I do this. This program, I want everybody who comes out of this program to be equipped, feel confident in what they're doing, and know what they're doing, right? Like, we have way too many health coaches out there just giving bad advice. Like, some of it's bad advice, some of it's half advice, some of it's just fluffy, you know, it's like, well, we're gonna do, and it's just like, it's not addressing the whole thing. And I'm not even gonna say I don't want to be critical, because I am critical about that, because I don't think,
stand out.
Yeah, it's not gonna help anybody.
We're gonna stand out.
Yeah, we're gonna stand out. And especially if you pass this test, you're gonna stand out. No, everybody's gonna pass the test. It just takes a lot of time to do it.
You know what? I've been in a crisis here with a whole community, which is so embarrassing. And I think we're going to end up having to specialize in the vaccine recovery, because so many children have gotten this horrible MMR vaccine that I just cry. I just cry. And now there are two communities that invited the most evil person to go speak to them to push vaccines. And I'm sure you know who that is, right?
You must tell us.
I guess you can guess, because it rhymes with profit.
You don't want to say it on record?
It rhymes with profit. Dr. Paul Offit. Of all people, it's so unbelievable how people, they are afraid, they are shaking in the pants. All the doctors in our communities are just like trying to hold on to the reins of this vaccine idol.
Mm-hmm.
And it is unbelievable. The people that are not vaccinating their children, their children have been ousted from the schools. There's crazy things going on in the community. That's why I just could not wrap my head around sitting down and I tried every day. I'm going to do the test today. I'm going to do my work.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got I get calls, and we have activism going on, but it is very.
Well, I think, yeah, and that's the thing too, is that like us doing this prep work and knowing all of these aspects of the body, and like you're gonna need to know how to undo that, help people to undo that.
Whatever degree we can.
Yeah, and no amount of like raw, like that's not gonna be all you're gonna need to do. And this is basic, but not, right? Like what we're doing here is basic, but not. And I gotta tell you one thing too. I just I had a bad attitude yesterday, like really bad attitude. I'm much happier today. Lucky you. But yesterday I was in the like local health food store, and I saw two doctors that there are three of them here that claim to be, well, one claims to be integrative and two claim to be functional. The integrative doctor I'd had since I was 18 years old. And I loved her at first because she was a godsend from everybody else that I had seen, but nowhere near what we're talking about today. Basically the relationship deteriorated as my children got older, because she would I really realized how patriarchal the system was that she still worked under, and how, it was still like where she was to be on top and we were kind of like not supposed to ask a lot of questions. She was really much more comfortable with me when she was telling me what to do, even though some things were great. She introduced me to biofeedback years ago, when I was just like, what are you talking about? I'm going to try this kind of, but I didn't really do it years ago. But not to this extent. When I started to ask questions, that's when it just went bad. She would said some really crazy things to my kids. I wouldn't put my kid on this crazy diet. She had type 1 diabetes, right in front of my daughter. And it was a beautiful diet. It's actually, I wish she still did it, because it took 4 years to get her better once she didn't. And I didn't change it. It was her listening to this crap out in the world and succumbing to that kind of sheeple mentality, of advertising and, all this garbage that we just abuse ourselves, and it's just we find that it actually isn't, we're seeing it's not. So anyway, so we had this experience, and so I was looking elsewhere, found a functional medicine doctor, two of them. One of them consults with people about 3 hours a month. So I'm really wondering who she's helping. How many people can get help that way? But she does teach at the university, but I've never attended any of her lectures or anything. So I don't know who she's teaching, or if they're even graduating yet, because I haven't seen anybody show up in the community. And believe me, I am looking high and low. And so and her office doesn't get back to me. I'm tenacious. Okay, I'm not trying to pester people, but I'll be like, oh, call back, hey, and no. And then same thing with this other functional medicine doctor I've complained about before here. And I'll tell you why I'm complaining in a minute. But that he claims to be integrative, and he does but basically he'll talk to cancer patients, and then he'll tell them, well, here's a few supplements that work okay, and go see the oncologist. and then people think they're getting integrative care, and it's a load of crap. Like, don't even, like, you know, like I had a friend of the family, and he has jaw, like cancer in his jaw, and he's just between you and me in the fence post, I don't think he's going to make it. He doesn't have that spirit, you know, to even question. He just kind of going and doing whatever, and then it's like the chances aren't very good. And but the same doctor, you know, he asked about CBD, and the same doctor said, yeah, you could try it. Never even gave him a prescription. He let that man leave his office and didn't give him a plan, didn't tell him how to use it, didn't tell him like dosing, nothing. He didn't tell him anything about it. And then for someone like him, who doesn't ask a lot of questions, and doesn't really advocate for himself, doesn't really feel like he deserves to, you know, get better. Like he's that's how he always lived. He's not going to ask that. He's not his own advocate. And so he left him. He's basically just going to leave him to die and never see him again and go off in his own little snotty life. And so I'm sorry I'm sounding bitter, but I saw two of these doctors yesterday, and I kind of overheard them. They're both, hi, Carla, hi. And I chased everybody literally for 3 to 5 years to help my family. And I just, nope. And this is why I'm giving you this bitch of a test, because all of you will know how to do this, and you're going to be effective, and no families who come to you are going to feel like I did, or anybody else who most people that I talk to or whatever have to feel, because this is not a good system, and we are building a new one. So this is the reason why I complain about this, is because that kind of frustration, I've turned it into action and making something that actually works. This 100%. Works.
It's a movement.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It's
okay. So I'm not going to carry on about that. So
did you ever look at their books? Did you ever look at medical books?
Whose books? Like
the pharma published textbooks. Like I looked at this summer a nursing book, and I told you an anatomy physiology book.
Okay.
I went over the books. I just happened to found, you know, gotten some books from 2008.
Yep.
And the cases in the nursing book were all the examples were all teaching the nurse to speak in a very intimidating way to the patient. And then in the nursing book also there was the vaccine schedule, nothing about vaccines except for the schedule, and with the presumption that this is like, you know, like God created the world with vaccines, like, you know, there's no questions. And then in the anatomy physiology book published by Pharma, it discusses in each organ system the various inflammatory conditions. Mm-hmm. And they all say etiology unknown. Isn't that interesting? But vaccines do cause inflammation. Mm-hmm. So that can't be part of it. But etiology unknown, yes, that's very scientific, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and you say like speaking and intimidating. That's really interesting that the training is actually to be intimidating.
They're taught that way. Yes, but that's obvious because every doctor I've gone to, even if they're nice, it's always in an intimidating way.
Oh, tell me. Yeah, I know. And I was going to say something more to that. Just yesterday, I was phoning a local hospital, smaller hospital in a town, and we're trying to access hyperbaric therapy, hyperbarics, right? And so there's like none. I actually did some with a friend for my daughter who actually rented one from a doctor that she knew. And I don't know who it is anymore because she passed away. But we actually did that just because she rented this and offered it to my daughter. So we just tried it out for a bit when, you know, and really didn't know what we were looking for. And I think if we kept going, you know, might have been different. But so we're looking for this for a family member. And I phoned there and I said, well, why didn't you just call and ask? She said, well, I didn't even think to ask. Because she said, I wonder how you get access to this hyperbaric chamber. And I'm like, well, you asked? Like, and I'm just going to ask. So I phoned the hospital, and the nurse who answered said, well, I don't know. I'll have to see. And I said, well, I was asking, well, do you think, like, do people need a doctor's requisition, or do we just go straight through the hospital? Like, to sign up and book a time? Like, how does this work for patients to be able to access this? And then she goes off the phone, she comes back, and she says, well, who is this? Is this a doctor calling? And I said, no. I said, it's like just a member of the public just wondering how we can access publicly purchased equipment and treatments. And she said, oh, well, I don't know, just her answer. And at first she's asking if I'm a doctor. And then she said, well, how do you know you need to use this treatment? And I said, well, I'm just asking how we access it so that we can see if we can use it. Like, I mean, what is it to you? Like, I mean, and I just thought that it was like that whole, like you were saying, it was, I think she was, I don't know if she was trying to be intimidating, but I think most people would be intimidated by those kinds of questions. Like, oh, I'm not a doctor. Okay, maybe I shouldn't be asking these questions. And, oh, I guess I shouldn't have access. And this thing is sitting there where like thousands of cancer patients can use it, and they're traveling abroad to get, hyperbarics, and it's sitting there in this small town. They should be advertising it, so.
You know what? The care is out of care.
Yeah.
There's no care in care.
I know. And so,
There's health in care, and there's no care in care.
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Well, I've added that equipment to my wish list of what I want to have in my clinic. Is a hyperbaric oxygen chamber and ultrasound, but I'll tell you that for why. But and then a couple other things that I think we need to have. I would love to have an MRI without contrast. Pretty, much safer than CTs. And then like our wait list here is 8 months. Like, it's just, and then you can go, somewhere and pay $2,000 or something to get it done. But anyway, okay, so I digress. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, so
I just want to ask you for let's say people wake up and realize that the vaccine is damaging before they notice any real damage in their children. Remember, these are DNA that can, wrap itself into the genome and cause birth defects in the kids if they have kids. Is this something that I have to study on my own, or would it be cease therapy? Like, I'm wondering, like, once the truth is out and people say, let's go for the detox, how would I go about figuring out what would be the best protocol
for detox from vaccines?
From the vaccines, yeah.
Yeah, I think actually there's a really good detox. Is that vaccine detox though? And I'm thinking about Joe Pizzorno, and he's got a book. I think that's more environmental.
Or is it Dr. Pampa also? I mean, that's the whole healing from vaccine.
Yeah, I think the best thing, and I don't have an actual protocol. Like I always go with the basics that we're learning here and finding out what's like we can find out, the vaccines were the cause, but then we want to know physiologically what's happened and then undo that right on that level. So
right, we don't
always looking at the microbiome and the mitochondria. We want to be detoxing, right? So, but then like when we have something induced into the body, like, mercury or something, there are all sorts of pathogens that feed off of the mercury and the other, like aluminum. And so we have to look for that. So our comprehensive approach, I think, does all that to find out what we need to, we're ratting it out, like ferreting it out. Right. And then at that point, but I think, it depends like what the combination is, like what the body is held on to. Like there might even be genetics that you might want to look into, because you can see how well that person is detoxing. But I think if they've got autism, I think that I don't necessarily think that you have to do the genetics, because you'll know they're not detoxing if they have autism. Like they're keeping it in their brain, that. So I think using methods like holistic methods, and Sutton, I know you want to jump in, so one sec. They're using holistic methods, like not only doing the physiological, like push-catch system. So read that, Ita, if you haven't had a chance to. Push Catch. It's a document I put up in that section where we talked about toxicity, and it's by Christopher Shade. I even did Vega testing. I did physical testing, like we used his products, but also like Vega, like I thought, what the hell, let's see. And they tested so strong for everyone. Like, so if we did like a melatonin from, I don't know, whatever company, and then we used Chris Shade's melatonin, was way higher. Like that was way better. And they're both melatonin, but his stuff and his, it will, travel through to the brain, they're liposomal. So, and then using really quality stuff. Like we don't want to be giving them, say, yeah, you want to use dandelion because it's going to help you with your liver. Well, yes, it is. And you're going to need a healthy liver for detox, but you need a very high quality dandelion extract, right? Like I'm drinking dandelion tea actually right now. And I do that like maintenance, but that's not going to detox me from anything. Like it's not going to help my liver if it's dealing with this big burden. And so, and then with kids, we want to make sure that those things are really, like not necessarily like they're gentle, right? But they're not necessarily benign. Like they're not just like, they're not so gentle that it's just like, plunking them along. You still want that, to go. That holistic approach. And I think that sometimes you need to start in an area that's like, less, I guess that it would be the word I would use, would be gentle. And that's where homeopathics really shine. So you want lymph drainage. So you use the homeopathics that will drain lymph, that will support kidney, that will support, the lymph, all the drainage, and also the liver. So, and then there are a few that Suzanne Bennett uses. And so those are Picana, that brand. I don't know, you probably should get it there where you are. And same thing with you in the UK, Kirsty. Sutton, I'm not sure. I know you can get them in the States, Picana, Pekana, but I think I do mention them in that detail. If I didn't, I'll put that in there in the detox area, or of the, sorry, my brain's shutting off already, and we're only an hour in. So in that, I like homeopathics for that. I think that gets right down into the tissues and kind of like, awakens the body to this. And I think another person so we were talking about Pampa, Pizzorno, and also another person is Klinghardt. So his methods are very good, but sometimes it takes like some training in what he does to actually know how to do this. And so, but he does do, homeopathics. And he also uses BioSil to get lead in particular out of the brain. I don't know if we have so much lead, but if we have a leaky brain caused by mercury, poisoning, then we could have all kinds of metals in there. And so, BioSil is one of those products that he uses. So putting those things together, I think that you as a practitioner needs to put together your toolkit that you are comfortable with and understand, and then make sure it's comprehensive and that it's gentle enough to use with children, but also powerful enough to do the job, So, and that's why, I think homeopathics are like a really good resource for kids for sure. And I actually, Dr. Suzanne Bennett, she's pretty free in what she actually does. She has a protocol, and I think I actually posted that as well. Actually, I'm sure I did in that section. And then she and Robin, Green Smoothie Girl. What's her last name? Anybody? Openshaw. Yes. So in her talk in the Heavy Metals Summit, and I actually did link to that as well. That one has a lot of really good information about detoxing as well for kids. She had a child that she had to detox as well as Suzanne Bennett. And those are the people I'm listening to who have done it with their own kids, and then they went into this doing it with other people. So those are the resources for that.
Terrific.
Okay. So I'm gonna, and then we'll put, and maybe if you need more clarification, if everything seems a little bit disjointed, we can sit down. We'll put together something. Okay, Ita?
No, it's giving me comfort, because I just see people just doing the craziest things. But I think they could even be healthier than they were before the vaccine.
Yeah. Yes, here. I agree.
The vaccine, because they're going to put their mind to it.
Yeah, go ahead, Sutton. And I agree, Ita. Yes.
what I was gonna say was, it'd be nice to like have a step 1, step 2, step 3, especially with children detox, because like when I think about detoxing a kid, for one, I don't want to assume what heavy metals or toxins have built up. I'd like to either do hair mineral analysis or a biofeedback or some bioenergetic screen, and get both both bits of information to compare, like if both of them are showing up mercury or lead or aluminum or whatever whatever toxins that could be there. And then from there, because like Sophia Institute, which is related to Klinghardt Institute, they have a phenomenal list of on their website what binders are good for what particular toxins and metals. And so, with kids, it's so important to get that right, because you don't want it floating around their system. I mean, adults too, but with kids, you don't want them to suddenly get really ill and out of healing crisis, because a parent is going to pull them right off of your protocol, and so you want to just make sure it's like super gentle. And I think it's really important to know what it is that is causing the negative symptoms, and then go very gently from there. I also feel that it's really good information to know what genetic SNPs could be interfering with methylation, because that also needs to be supported. For me, when I think of detoxing kids, I think I would like them to get their 23andMe, and then two different analyses, like hair mineral and bioenergetic, to be able to confirm what toxins are the burden, what the problem is, and then go into the protocol, like whether you choose homeopathic, but making sure you're getting the right binders, making sure you're getting the right things in the system, because like I said, just you don't want a kid going into a healing crisis, because the parents will lose all trust in you, and they'll think that you're gonna inadvertently injure your kid even more. So that's my 2 cents about that. And I just think that it'd be nice, like maybe this is something that you could also help develop, Carla, like having like step 1, like, because I feel like when you're detoxing children versus adults, it's the same, but it's very different, because their systems they're just smaller, and we need to be more careful with what happens to their bodies. And plus, adults can just handle, like, they understand, oh, you're in a healing crisis, and they can kind of push through it, whereas children can probably push through it, but you also just don't want more damage to come out of it. So it'd be nice if there was like steps that we could follow in terms of like ensuring those safety measures are there,
Yeah, and I think that would be fairly straightforward to put that together for sure. Well, let's work on that in January. And I think a couple things about what you were saying is also making it very clear to the parents that, if they have any symptoms like this, it's not necessarily because what you're doing is wrong. It just might be too fast. Let's slow down, so let me know as soon as that happens. We can slow down. You might not be using enough binders. I think even with the binders, like, that actually was the hardest part for us, is remembering to do that. Because you have to do it in between meals, and then at the end of the day, and then you have to, sometimes, like, depending on what you were using, it was like a big hunk of psyllium husk water, something, it's like there are some challenges to getting those down the hatch, so depending on which one you're using, so I think that's one issue. What else I was wanting to say about that? I don't know. It'll come to me, but yeah, I think you're totally right. Like, about that, making sure.
Compliance is also.
Pardon me?
compliance, finding some fun ways to for compliance.
Yeah.
Most people are just not going to bother because that is the paradigm
Yep.
that you just explained before when, you're dealing with a practicum person. I think our movement is to empower people to care about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
to connect their body, mind, and soul, and to say they're worth it.
Yep.
They're worth making the effort, and they're smart enough to do it.
That's right.
So
that's right. And I think that's 80% of the population don't think they think negatively about themselves in one.
because that's what we've been
two or
inculcated into our
Yep.
entire subconscious.
Yeah, and literally, people die because they don't think they can learn enough to help themselves, and they don't
Mhm.
believe, or they don't think that there's a way. Like literally, every day I see that happen. Not with my client, but with
That's what drives us.
Pardon?
I think that's what's driving us.
Yeah, I think so too. All right. Okay. So I'm going to keep going with the exam. So if I think about what I wanted to say about that detox issue, I'll pipe up later, like at the end of our session here. Okay. So let's go through this practitioner. Okay. So the final exam, this is just the outline. I don't have all the questions here to show you, but I'll be releasing that exam right away. Sutton, are you ready for that?
Yay, Sutton.
I know.
Yeah, actually, not the final exam, but the practicum. Is that what you're talking about?
Okay, yeah, no, I'm talking about the exam.
Well, didn't you say that the exam is after the practicum, or you're going to offer it before?
At the same time, but you don't, you might want to pace it and do the exam after, but you can start working on it if you wanted. So I'll you know what? I'm just asking because I have a couple tweaks to make to it. Like this is just the outline here, and I have most of it. Like, but I'm just
take your time, make your tweaks. I'm not in a hurry.
Okay, good. So I was gonna release it like January 1st, like the new year. I was gonna release it. So if that works still, I'm just gonna not panic and write like the rest of it tonight. I'm just gonna, No,
I'm more focused on my practicum because I really want to do that right. And I really want to kind of put it out in my community that I'm looking for 6 families to participate and kind of like, so that I can or maybe even 4 families to participate. Because I don't want to just work on one. I want to kind of get a few different scenarios like of kids and issues. And then, have a really clear layout of how I will offer services. And so I want my practicum to kind of be more than one person. Are you okay with that?
Yes, that's fine. I
Okay.
can't help myself either. I'm like, bring it on, let's do them all, Yeah, no, I'm good with that. Yeah.
You would do it as a group?
No, I would do it individually, but I guess because I want to kind of trial and error different kids and different like symptoms, or I mean, I might have an adult in there too, but like basically I don't want to only work with like one, like for example, a child with autism, and then I have another child over here with chronic asthma and eczema, and like I want to work with that too, like separate from the autism, and see what works, like different protocol wise, like what recommendations. And because if I just work with somebody with autism, then it may or may not be successful. But then what about the other kids? Like before I start charging, like I wanted to get like 4 to 6 different people like in my first, I don't know how, I mean, it sounds bad, but like experimental practice, like experimental practice. And then like that way I can have like a solid understanding of like what worked for certain people and what may have not worked, and how I can continue to tweak and improve, and and instead of having just one person and then try to ask for payment after one person but still not have that solid foundation.
Yep.
So that's kind of why I wanted to work with more than one in my practicum.
I would way rather you be comfortable, before you put your sign on your door, and just keep working with you till you're comfortable. I would way rather that than you just, kick you out the door and go get some money and, like, no, like, just, no, I'd rather you be more comfortable. Like, yeah, it's good. Okay. All right. So here's the exam. So this is why we have such a comprehensive exam. And so the following exam is open book, and there is a very generous time limit to complete it once you have begun, as there is a research component that may take some time. Okay. So the written research component will need to be completed within 4 weeks. So within 4 weeks of when you start, okay? Not of now, it's from when you start. Taking anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks to complete, depending on your current work-life health situation. Okay, so whatever you're dealing with, you might be working like 40 hours a week. You have 4 kids, and you got like 8 grandkids, and you got like, all this stuff going on, and each is like, that's me. Actually, might be.
What's the topic? What's the topic?
I actually think I did describe you. But yeah, so, like that, it's just, you're not able to just do it and bang it off in a weekend. I would rather you spend some time on it and just say, I'm going to do like section 1, this week or tonight I had time to do way more than I had last week or whatever. I'd rather that and take some time to do it than just like kind of in 2 days or something, and just like, and it'd be quite a bit of work to do, and like, it wouldn't take you days. It's just like a lot of, it's just it's intensive to do that. And so so I would rather that. The reason why I have a time limit at all is that we can't start an exam and then like a year later, it's not done. Like we still need a little bit of fire under us. And so and then we don't want it to get cold, and we don't want, your stuff that you read before, you have to redo it all, I actually have a class that I'm taking now that's happening. I could have to read it all again before I do the final. But hey, so this is what I want to avoid. That's why we have such a nice grace period, a length of time, but also a limit. And
What's the topic?
Pardon me?
The topic of the research. Did we pick the topic?
I'm coming to that. I'm coming. And then so the oral component needs to be completed before you're granted your certificate. So first you do the written research component, and you got, whatever, up to 4 weeks to do that. Then you have the oral component. And so that you don't have to, like, that doesn't really have a limit, but it has to be done before you're granted your certificate. And so at that point, though, when you're done the written, you're pretty much done. You just have to, you have to give me a call, or I call you, and we take that 45 minutes for the oral component and finish it up. And I'll get to that just a sec. So, okay, let's get started. All right. So, and as you know, you're encouraged to graduate from the program 1 year after beginning your studies. Don't you love my choice of words? Encouraged to graduate. So like, your time's up, get out. Like, no, that's not, but you're encouraged to, get it done within a year. And so that will be actually June, because we started in June. You guys, like, that's actually, that's feeling kind of close.
I want to be finished by February.
Okay. Woo, right on. So, but, and I'm flexible, whatever. And I, all that stuff, but this is our goal, right? All right. So multiple choice. So this is the first section. 50 questions worth 2 marks each. Total marks for the section would be 100. Okay. And then terms and definitions. So you'll have all those questions, obviously, when I, send you the exam. Terms and definitions, 20 definitions worth 5 marks each. So the total marks for this section is 100. So, there'll be terms and definitions that we've used quite a bit, or the ones that I really think that you need to learn. I actually have a list that I've been compiling for a while, and it's like really long. And you're not going to have to know all of those, and you can look it up. Again, it's open book, my purpose is that I want you to know where to find the information. And second, just keep practicing it until you know it. But I mean, you don't have to have everything up here. You'll never have that. It's just, it's so much. So I'm fine with that, but certain things you're going to have to be able to like reference right away. You got to kind of know what, the microbiome is, stuff like that. Like that stuff, memory, right? And so I've been compiling this list though too, that I'll share with you. And that it's just good, a good list of terms and definitions that you should kind of keep in mind, that really are relevant to this functional approach to health. And so I'm compiling that list, but I don't have the definitions in the list. Like, it's just the list of words. And so, because the definitions, like, I don't have like a month to do that. And you don't need me to do it anyway. So it's just stuff that, we just always want to keep, at the forefront of our minds. But these ones I will, right? Like, when you have these, you need to define these 20 things, 20 words for your exam. We'll be obviously going through what those are. Research component. Okay, so this is what you're asking about, Ita. The first one is a short answer. So 20 questions worth 5 marks each. So total marks for this section is 100 as well. Choose 10 conditions from the HFF chronic illnesses and benign conditions list. And I have a link there. And write a 1-paragraph description that must contain the characteristics of the condition. So signs and symptoms. Okay, so you choose 10 of them. I actually had it as 20. I'm like, no, I can't do that. It would just take you too long. So just take 10 of those conditions that you found. We've gone through this document before, and I'm just going to show you what it looks like again. But you can just go through it and pick ones, and they could be ones that you're already familiar with or that really want to, go into deeper. So I had that little write-up about it, but here, if you scroll down, it's taking a while to load, sorry. If you scroll down, then we've got all of these conditions. So acne and skin conditions, candida overgrowth, dental cavities. Those are all like people think are kind of benign, but they actually are conditions. Dysbiosis, migraine, headaches, addictions, like allergy, asthma, eczema, all of these different conditions, ADHD. And I was compiling all this information for you. It's not done. I'm not done it. This will be like something that we're using as a reference. So I'm working on this. This is a work in progress. But this is a good place to go just for the list of a good chunk of stuff you can choose from. So you could pick autoimmunity. You could pick specific autoimmune condition like scleroderma or Hashimoto's, MS, any of these things, pandas. Like, you only have to pick 10 of any of these conditions and then define those and just write a 1-paragraph on it. And then the next part of this research, and I call it the research component because you're going to have to, if you don't know a lot about it, just to read a little bit about it. And honestly, like, I've become so good at this. Like, my aunt will be like, I'll talk to her on the phone or something, we're troubleshooting something, and she'll say something to me, and I'll go, well, and I could answer her right away because I looked it up and I knew where to look. And so she's like, how do you know that? I'm like, I just looked it up. Like, you just, that's pretty easy. And then, but then you apply.
Honest?
But then you apply what you know. Like, you have to know where to look, and then you have to know what information is good, right? Like, and then also, like, it's like always translating that condition into this functional perspective, right? So, like, I never look at a condition and go, diabetes is a disease of the pancreas. No, it's not. Actually, it can be caused by damage to the pancreas. It can be metabolic, and it's usually both, right? So, and so if we use, so I'm always putting that lens, and so that's why I'm always reminding you about this lens that we're looking at health with, because that will really lead you to the right information and easily interpret stuff, So, all right, so I want you to choose 10 conditions, and then I want you to choose 10 holistic therapies from this list that we looked at, and so I'll let that load.
How is that 1 paragraph? Isn't it 10 paragraphs?
Did I say 1 or 10? 10.
You said 1. Choose 10 conditions and 1 paragraph description.
Oh, yeah, a paragraph per condition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a 1-paragraph description for each. How about I'll do that? I'll be more clear. That's better. 1-paragraph description for each, right? I'll put that for this too.
That's what I assumed, but.
Yes. Well, and I better be clear because, okay, so, and then you choose 10 holistic therapies from the list and write a 1-paragraph description for each that must contain at least 2 applications for the therapy. Okay, so there we are. So this is that document we went through, holistic healing therapies, healing and therapies. And again, it's just a list. It's not even like categorized, which I think I need to do that, go and categorize it. But it isn't yet, it's just alphabetized. So here's like a zillion of them. And just pick some that you're familiar with, that's kind of in your wheelhouse, that you don't have to pick one and go, and research that you've never heard of before. Like, I think that, you could easily find 10 in this list that you've used before or interested in, or think that would work really well for the clientele that you're looking at, or wanting to work with. Okay, so there's that list there. Okay, and I'm just gonna go back to here. And then the long answer. This is still part of the research component. Okay, so long answers, 2 questions worth 20 marks each. Total marks for this section, 40. Of the 20 conditions you defined in the short answer section of this exam, choose 2 of them and write an expanded description of each of those conditions or illnesses. In your descriptions, please include origins of the condition or illness, and what is it and what part of the body does it affect. Okay. Yep, that's right. That's the verb. Okay. And then 5 symptoms or signs of that condition or illness. What demographic that condition or illness affects the most. Conventional therapies currently used as standard of care. Possible root causes. And then, once you know the root causes, you're not going to really, we want to know what people are doing about it, but we want to know actually what we can do about it. Alternative therapies that you can employ using a functional lifestyle holistic approach. So then you'd select the ones you think may work best for that particular challenge, and keeping in mind the possible root causes. Okay, so this takes a little bit of digging, a little bit of thought. And so I have 2 of them that, you choose 2 of them, 2 of these conditions that you want to expand on a little bit. Okay. Short essay question. Okay, I know it's more writing. One more thing where you have to write a little bit. It's only half a page, and it might just pour out of you, because I think really you could probably cut and paste your when you applied to this program, you could probably cut and paste what you said. And then you're done. No, like maybe tweak a little bit. But so I want you to tell me your story. I want so write a half page to a page, like it's just a half page to a page, somewhere in there, about your own health journey. Please explain what you grew up believing about health. How has that changed? That has changed, evolved, expanded through your life or your own health history or journey. And how the experience in this program has changed, evolved, expanded your view of health, if at all. If it didn't, that's cool. If you were like whatever in this space before and you stayed there, that's cool. But if it did, I would like to know. So that is part of the exam. It's only worth 10%. I didn't put it too heavily weighted, but just something I think is a really good experience at the end when you're reflecting on this whole, whatever it's going to be, 6 months to a year. And then the oral component. So this is all the written stuff that I'm just talking about. And then after you hand that in, then this oral component, this is what will be happening for that. And it's, I'd like you to book 3/4 of an hour. I was trying to keep it at 30 minutes. I'm thinking by this time, you guys will be like, I'm so done. I don't want to do another hour. But then I couldn't, I thought that's not long enough. I mean, we could, I could have said 30 minutes and then we'll just go over, which we always do. But then I want you to actually have this slot of time blocked off and be reasonable about how long we're probably going to take. So it's worth 50 marks. And so after you've completed the written component of the exam, schedule a 3/4 of an hour time slot for the oral component of the exam. During this time, I will be presenting you with 3 different scenarios of which you will choose one and walk me through how you would begin work with this new client. Okay, so we've done a bit of stuff. We've worked with a practicum client or maybe more, but I want to, this actually part of the exam is so that you're practicing that meet and greet when you are trying to see whether you're a good fit, you and that client. So your client is kind of like interviewing you, and you're kind of getting a good idea of what they need and if you can actually help. And so I want you to get a little bit better, or not better. I don't know if you're good or bad, but I mean skilled. I want you to be skilled at doing this, or at least have done it before. So during our conversation, I'm the client and you are the practitioner. As we talk, I will reveal the information a potential client might give you during a 15-minute meet and greet, as you ask me pertinent questions. After our 15-minute conversation, what the heck, I have a comma there, we will spend the remaining 30 minutes discussing the following questions. How would you handle this client's intake process? So that sounds like a vague question, but I'll explain. Okay, so what I mean by that is that would you just send them off, to do this intake? And some people are very capable of doing that. Would you book a time to actually maybe like what you're doing with your packages, like your coaching packages? And this is what I've recently done, is added a session to my coaching packages that is where we go through the intake form together. I find that's actually where all my, anybody who doesn't actually hire me right away and start work with their own kids and they're stalled in their progress, is because they can't get past doing that dang form. And they're like, oh, it's like homework and so what I'm quick. I can type. I'm not I type with 3 fingers on each hand. I'm not a professional typer, but I'm pretty quick with this. And so what I offered is actually having an extra hour to help them get through that initial intake. So then they're talking, we go through and I put it on the Google Doc and I just type it in as they're telling me. And so that's where we keep all those. And so I ask them all those specific questions and then we're done. And then they are ready to go, So, they don't take a month to get back to you and you're poking and going, how's that form going? And, so that's what I've actually built into my coaching package. So instead of just having an hour and a half consultation, which is where we actually go through the intake form, and then I tell them what my plan was for that, or what my suggested plan is for them. And then 2 follow-ups, I've also included that initial, so I do a meet and greet for free, and then I do the package, and then I do, which also now includes this time that I take to go through that form with them. Because it's I actually have one family that 5 of them in the family, and they all have pandas. When is that mom gonna be able to do this form? They all, husband,
Crazy.
wife, 3
Crazy.
kids. They all have pandas. So that's not gonna happen. So how would you handle this client's intake? Would you do that? Would you offer to do that with them? Are they, someone who's got lots of time and lots of money and, they're like, no, I just want to, I can do this. And, they don't, or if they've got, if they have more money than time or more time than money, just depending on what they need, how would you handle that intake? Are you going to send them all of those forms, not forms, but those PDFs? Are you going to send them all to them? Or are you just going to send them maybe the My Why for kids, because they have a child there that's going to come home, really wants to do this kind of thing and thinks it's fun, or they have a teen that needs a little bit of, clarification on why they might want to participate with their parents in this journey or something, right? So we have those intake things that we can send, but some people we don't want to send them all to because they're just going to overwhelm them. They're not going to do it. They don't care. They just want you to help them out. So how would you handle that client's intake process? What are the things you would focus on first? So, after you've done, looked on, talked to me in this little mock conversation, and I'm not going to be like, hi, my name's Jenny, and I'm not we're not getting into character. We're not acting in this thing, because that's so annoying and it's so fake. I'll just be like, okay, yeah, okay, Sutton, so I'm going to ask you, you have to ask me, okay, sorry, Sutton, you'd be asking me, okay, Carla, how old are you, or were you vaccinated, or what are your top five complaints, or just any of those questions according to I'll give you a little scenario, and then you start asking me questions to help me to clarify that for you. Okay, so you're walking me through, but I'm just answering as if I'm that person in that scenario. Okay. Okay, so then what are the things you would focus on first? So I'm going to ask you that, after we have this conversation, and I told you that, I'm the mom and my child has autism, and, I told you that my child was vaccinated and that I did not breastfeed, and that this child has had lots of gastro problems, and, we've
Food-based C-section, had antibiotics during birth.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and so the things you would focus on first, vaccine injury, right? Like that's what you do, right? And so, but I mean,
Birth
so
process.
pardon me?
Birth process.
Birth
Birth
process?
process.
Yeah.
Birth process.
But for that child, right, what's first? What's first? Like it would be, okay, we're going to look at the gut, like the microbiome. We're going to look at like what tests might you suggest? That's a question. Like, would you run and why? What issues would you, like, I usually make a little short list. I'm like, okay, we got digestion, we've got autism, we've got metals, we've got possible food reactivity, and dysbiosis. Okay, so those right off the hop, those are the 5 things that I would actually like look into first. But this is before you even get the initial intake form. But you want to be doing that right away, because then you can get back to that client and say, okay, look, these are the top things I'm thinking about now. It could change after you do the intake. This is kind of what I'm offering. This is what I do. And, it'd be great to work with you. Let me know. So pretty much. And then, so what's your initial impression of your client's current situation? Again, like same kind of question, just ask it a different way. What test would you run and why? And what would be your first steps? Okay, so would you do a stool test first? Would you do, I don't know, some other assessments? I don't know what might be. I'm just making stuff up and I'm running out of steam. But, what were the first things? Would you clean up diet? Would you, because like in that initial assessment, you can ask that question, like, what's your diet like? And it would take them about 30 seconds to answer that question, right? So yeah, what are the first things that you would do? And usually those are along the lines of like lifestyle interventions those parents can do right away, as well as further things like these things I would like to investigate further, like whatever tests, hair minerals, like stool test, blah, 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 blah. And then, and also like establishing, maybe it might be to establish their budget, like in the scenario, I could have said like, it's like a, single mom of 4 kids, that could have been the scenario. And then, so your first steps are going to be much different than if that scenario was the same illness, the same health problem, but like, an affluent, couple that they just sold their business for $1 million and they've got 1 child, right? So all the resources they could possibly have, but maybe, they're not so connected as a family, stuff like that. So, so that's what I want you to do, is tell me what your first steps would be for that particular situation. And then that'll be the end of the exam. And then well done, you made it. And then so there's total possible marks for that exam, 400. So, whatever. Yeah, 400%. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna make it out of 100 though. I'm gonna have to do the math and get the percentage out of 100. But
we have each other's email addresses.
Pardon?
We have each other's email addresses.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, I don't know. I think usually people are just connecting through Facebook.
Uh-huh.
So if you want to, and if you want people's email addresses, you can certainly just ask, through Facebook. Okay. But I think that's probably the easiest.
Okay.
So, but if you need to send people things and stuff like that, for sure.
How's Anne?
Yeah. And then let me know when you're ready to write, and I'll send you your own unique Google Doc link so you can write your exam right into the doc. Just like I've switched to actually doing this with clients, but as well as like using it a bit more with the training. That'll be sweet because I don't have it all there, and easy peasy. You don't have to scan. You don't have to do any of that stuff. And then it's so messy in Microsoft Word or, those kind of word processing programs. And then I'll make all comments into the Google Doc and we'll notify you as soon as it's marked, okay? I will save it to a PDF after you are complete to keep it on file. See, look, I can just change everything, like any mistakes or like I just did a couple times. And then we schedule the oral component. And then once you pass both the written and oral components of the final exam, you'll graduate and receive your diploma. Yahoo! Wow. And then beyond graduation, man, we're hitting the hour and 40 here. So I'm just going to go through this quickly. It's pretty simple. There's a list. So there's things that I'm still working on that aren't necessarily part of the basic program, but I'm going to be making it part of the basic program, but I'm still developing these things. I have like a whole list of docs that I'm creating, or not just documents actually, they're documents and videos and stuff like that for you to watch. And so they're going to be like, some of them is new stuff, and some of it's just like going through stuff that we blitzed through before, but that you can go back to and just like have one sound bite kind of thing. So like creating a healing plan, you know, I want to do a new walkthrough of that where, you know, where I show you like how to actually create this plan. And we did do that in one of our lessons, but we did a lot more in that lesson. So it's not sort of like a standalone kind of, you know, just about this topic. Same thing of this detox guy. We were just talking about this actually, weren't we? Oopsies, I messed that up. We were just talking about this, you know, a guide to detox. And so I'm working on that. Vibrant wellness test, that'll take me literally like as long as it takes me to talk, you know, like about it. But I want to go through a couple of those tests with you and like help you to interpret them, because you will have access to them. Actually, I'm sure that they will give you access, but even if you don't, you will have access through me. And I like this lab, and I think that they'll be very valuable for you. In the UK, you actually can get them, you can use them because they need the blood, like the ones that are blood, which are most of them, they need them overnight, but FedEx can get them there to the States overnight, which is good. I don't know a lot of the labs over in Europe. I'm sorry. Most of the ones I use are in the United States, actually. So I still have to get them over the border, which is, you know, a little bit of sometimes a hassle for me, but usually we can get them there. But it's good to know that overseas, but I just can't do Australia. Australia is 2 days fastest. That's the fastest. And to get from the UK or like elsewhere, like a lot of other countries in Europe, I think it's a day, but I think it's like $80, like 80 Canadian dollars, which is like 60 US dollars. And I don't know what that translates to euro, but that's about how much it would take for someone to mail it from there. Okay, and then like our Armin Labs test, we already did that actually. I'm not going to do my own because we already had Armin come and do it for us. So that's already posted. Water PDF, like that's something that I promised and never delivered. So I need to finish that. And Lana kind of like poked me about that a few months ago. And I said, yeah, gosh, I got to do that. So I have to get on that and just a little bit more information about water and what water's good and what's not so good. Mold, I want to do that too. That's on the list of things, is to really discuss mold illness. And there's a lot of information out there, but I want to synthesize a bit of what I've been learning. Vocabulary sheet, which is the definitions sheet I was talking to you about, and that, you know, that's an ongoing thing, but I'm going to release it once I get most of the ones I want on there, and that'll be in the new year, January. Diet summary, Kate, we really skipped through diets like we just did, and I want you to have you're going to have this diet summary way before you're done. I actually think that you won't even be partway through your practicum before you have this, because what I'm doing is I'm videoing myself going through all of the diets and discussing, you know, the pros and cons and what they actually are. We did that a little bit, but I want to go a little bit more in depth with the diet and nutrition and infographics, links list. Okay, so, oh yes, and that was a request from Courtney way back at the beginning of the sessions, and I didn't have time to do that, but she'd requested that I started actually putting infographics in, and then I stopped. And then I thought, you know what, instead of making it all messy in every single page of that course, I was going to just have links to the infographics. So digestive system, click, you know, brain, you know, whatever, anatomy, click, you know, all that stuff. So I'm compiling a list of infographics and charts and diagrams. Flagship tests, again, you know, I think I need to do a little bit of a better job explaining those flagship tests. So there'll be some more. And again, like I think like I'm going to do with Vibrant Wellness, I might go through them like one at a time. So that, I think that, you know, expect to see that happening. Treatments and therapies list, I'm still filling those. I'm thinking about filling it in. That's sort of coming later, because that there are our tools in our toolkit, but it's a very extensive list, and that's not something that, like, a couple of these things are going to come first. Our first aid kit, now that's actually almost finished. And it's like a list of things that I really like to have on hand, and people, you know, it's like the new first aid, you know, it's like having a few like things like Apis and like Rescue Remedy and like, you know, vitamin C and, you know, things like that are natural, like sort of like first aid, you know, like a batch of salve in the fridge, you know, things like that, that are really useful and that people, you know, kind of go to the pharmacy for, but they can actually just, you know, buy things at the health food store or make themselves. So though that I'm almost finished with that. Advanced lessons, we're always going to be doing those. We're always going to be doing I'm going to start doing guest lectures. That probably won't start to happen until March, I'm thinking, just because the logistics, and I want to get these basic things finished first. And then chronic conditions, I need to finish the summaries in that list. We already have that. I'm repeating myself. Sorry. And then physical signs of illness and condition. Yeah. And so that was a list I was compiling before too, and Anne's been bugging me about that. Because, you know, what do like shiners under your eyes mean? You know, those allergic shiners, or, you know, what can, you know, the dark lines, or like the dark, not lines, but like the skin on the back of the neck or under the armpits and stuff, that's an indicator of insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, right? So those things are really helpful, especially if you have clients that are face-to-face, that you can just kind of look and go, ooh, I kind of have a clue. I have a clue here. You got thinning hair, like not really much eyebrows here, you know, thyroid could be an issue. You know, again, obvious things like, you know, like sort of like, you can look at skin and see if it's not that plump, or, you know, you could be thinking about dehydration, or, you know, like white spots on the fingernails. You know, everybody knows, I shouldn't say that because not everybody knows, but zinc could be a zinc deficiency happening. You know, splitting or like ridgy fingernails, signs of nutritional deficiency. You know, like things like, there are many, many, many more. So, and there are a few more actually that I was compiling from Dr. Tom O'Brien's new book, just because they were really interesting. Like if you lose your sense of smell, you know, that could indicate, you know, a particular type of dementia, or even Alzheimer's, like earlier onset, or just at least neurodegeneration. You know, like what I've learned from my functional neurology group, you know, like messy handwriting could be indicative of like, you know, neurodegeneration, but in a particular part of the brain. Things like that. So, you know, tremors, like all kinds of stuff like that. All kinds, like, and even things like one nutritionist actually noticed that my daughter's one eye was like sort of like higher than the other. And that's like, she could go to the chiropractor and get that stuff kind of fit. And it's not about it being cosmetic, actually. It's like to do with like the flow and the cranial fluid and the, like, it was so, I never ever would have thought of that. So there are a lot of things, like dry hair, brittle, you know, like all that kind of thing. So that's why it's taking me a long time, because I just rattled off about 10, and there are like a lot more things to look for that, for physical signs of illness and conditions. And then supplement summary. We have to do this. This one is totally where I dropped the ball for you. I did not go into supplements very closely at all, but I'm not going to be able to do a really comprehensive workup, presentation, because it's out of my scope. Because I would way rather you get, and I'm going to dig up like a really good one to recommend for you, but I want you all to have a really good orthomolecular medicine reference book. I think everybody needs to have that. It's the same thing with phytotherapy, like, you know, herbs and contraindications, like you need to know all that. I already put that up in your books and resources list. So just refer to that and find the book about phytotherapy there. That's beautiful book, beautiful. I actually asked one of the herbologists that I know, like she's like brilliant. She's also an ND, and she does this every day, all day. And I asked her what they used for their curriculum. So that's the actual book that I bought, and that's the one I suggest for you. But I want to find, I haven't really found like the best one. I mean, you know, we could go with like, you know, Andrew Saul, but I mean, he does talk about orthomolecular medicine, but he mostly talks about vitamin C, like the only nutrient. He just talks about vitamin C all day long, you know? So, but there are other things. I'm gonna dig up something that's like, I just haven't found one that's my favorite yet, so I haven't done that yet. But I do want to go through some of like the heavy hitters, as I call them, you know, vitamin D, vitamin C, glutathione, like, you know, omegas, and like all those ones that we talk about quite a bit, just to give you a starting point and a really safe place to start, to give it like someone a really good nutritional protocol. And then we tweak, obviously, because we all know that we need to tweak according to genetic SNPs, you know. Oh, something, that's what I was going to say. When you mentioned genetics and wanting people to do genetics, I agree. I think that they are very useful. But I will tell you, I have spent the last 2 or probably 3 years now trying to learn enough to even suggest the proper nutrients to deal with certain genetic SNPs, like turning on or off. And so, you know, we can say, yeah, there's like you know, the detox pathway is impaired here, or we can assume that looking at the SNP and then putting that, you know, with the clinical correlation with the person and their actual symptoms. But like, do we give glutathione, right? Or do we give the precursors? And then we've got to say, okay, if we're going to do the precursors, do we have a problem with NAC? Or do we have, like, does this person have cancer? Because we don't want to be giving a bunch of glutamine. And I just learned that 2 days ago, that not cancer can, you know, especially certain types of cancer can not only be like if they use the glycolysis, like to proliferate, right? Like they use the sugar like pathways. Not only are you looking at glucose, but they also eat up all the glutamine. So then what does that mean? Like, do we feed it if we supplement? Like, is that a problem? I still don't know that yet. And then, or is the problem that they're using up all the glutamine, and then they're not able to make they're not able to make glutathione, because you need glutamine to make glutathione. You also need NAC, and what's the other ones? Anybody know the third? There's three components. Okay.
Superoxide dismutase? No, it's not superoxide dismutase. It's not.
No, but it's like, okay, so you need like N-acetylcysteine, you need glycine and glutamine to make glutathione. Thank you. And so but then you can go glycine pathway, and you're making glutamate, and you know, if you have too much glutamine, like, so, you know, it's like
Dr. Blaylock was not in favor of taking extra glutamine even to fix the gut lining.
Oh.
And Dr. Josh Axe was in favor of taking glutamine to fix the gut lining.
I know, and both are right, but then again, we're going back to like, okay, we need to know the genetics, but then we also need to know how to interpret them. So that's why the supplement part is tricky. And then I do, like I said, I do have my heavy hitters, the ones that are generally safe, and useful. But then if we're getting into, you know, we need to know what we're doing. But that's also why I like Ben Lynch's book, because it's pretty straightforward, and he doesn't get too heavy into like supplementing for specific, you know, pathway or whatever. And he gives some good advice there that's generally, you know, the things that you can do are mostly like lifestyle and diet. So, you know, it's not a lot of like supplementing with one certain thing to do one certain thing, because we don't want to treat the SNPs, right? Like he keeps saying that we don't want to treat the SNPs. And I was like, don't we? But no, we don't. We like, you know, like, yeah, we can have MTHFR and think we need vitamin B, like that. Well, you should do all of them, but like folate in particular. But, or, you know, we're methylating a certain way, and we need methylated B12, methylcobalamin, something like that. But we like, it's like a rabbit hole. Like, it's like,
what about the homeopathic glutamine?
Yeah, I know. Or we could just do, I mean, you know what Dr. Campbell McBride does, Natasha Campbell McBride, who wrote, what's that?
Bone broth.
Yeah, well, she's the GAPS diet, you know, creator. And she does bone broth, but especially for kids who have autism and like, you know, very sensitive, like you don't want that bone broth to be boiled. So they say you're supposed to boil it for like 24 hours, 48 hours, boil the schnittles out of it. But, you know, she says, especially at the beginning, only boil it for 4 hours, because then you'll start to make glutamate in that bone broth. And I didn't know that. Like I'm like, you know, I was taking all that Weston A. Price and all that advice to just boil the daylights out of it and get all those nutrients and all the minerals out of the bones. But no, she said that's long enough. And, you know, we don't want kids to be, you know, like, especially if they have high glutamate in their brains and they have low GABA, that's trouble, you know? So we could be, so that is very healing to the gut, bone broth for sure. And I would never ditch bone broth, but it needs to be made properly. And then, what's the other one for gut? I just got this in the mail. And so, serum derived bovine immunoglobulin. I'm going to put that in the chat. Serum derived bovine immunoglobulin. It's not going to work for vegetarians.
But that's like for bone broth, the purpose is like.
Well, it's gut healing, right? As opposed to using L-glutamine, right? I gotta let you go right away. But it's used. So IgG. You know what? I have a bottle of it like right there that I can almost see. I'm gonna grab it and show you. Okay, just 1 second. Okay, so this one is actually dairy-free, and they used to use it like some in the medical profession. You can get like a prescription, and but this is from the same makers as of Megaspore. I hope that you can see that. I don't know if you can. Yeah, there it is. Mega IgG 2000. Can you see that? Mega IgG 2000. So it's like I just learned about. I was telling you about the Kiran Krishnan, I think his name is, and he's doing a lot of talking about his company now, and they do Mega IgG 2000. There's another company that does it. You can't get it if you're not a doctor. I had tried, and so but this one you can, and they're from like their company is called Microbiome Labs, and they also have Spore Biotics, which I think are actually a safer probiotic and a more effective. They'll live through the GI, like through the stomach. And so that they'll actually do what they're supposed to do. And a spore will actually take up shop there and kind of grow where it needs to grow. So that I find those very promising. But anyway, okay, so I'll talk about that a little bit more with the supplements area. And then again, you know, there's more stuff that we're going to be doing, like case studies and advanced teachings. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to stop my share. I'm going to stop my share. And if you have questions for me, I'm sorry I went like a full 2 hours. I did not mean to do that today. But if you have questions about anything, let me know. This is not goodbye. This is just
very exciting. We're all going to be revolutionary mamas.
Yeah, exactly. It is exciting.
Better and keep growing. And that's what it's empowering everybody and just feeling abundant. That's it. There's no competition. There's no such thing as competition. Whereas on the other side, there is. Where there's no caring, there's competition.
Mm-hmm.
Where there's caring, there's just more abundance for everybody.
Exactly.
More healing. And that's the movement.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm very excited to go get to work and sit down and do my test.
Yeah, like you've been sitting on your hands so far. Yeah, right.
I unfortunately, I haven't, it's hard to get into it because just my heart is breaking. My daughter is like telling me what's going on in her neighborhood, and, they were excluded from a certain event, that they go to every year, but her children are not vaccinated, and they were told don't come. So I'm not worried about my grandchildren. I'm worried about all the other ones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just like where the brains are. It's just like fear is just reigning supreme, and so is the reptilian brain, the amygdala.
Yeah.
Because these people are just all in sympathetic mode, and that's what vaccines do. They put really people into permanent sympathetic mode because it's an energetic trauma, it's a physical trauma, it's chemical traumas. it's so much trauma in that little injection. It's amazing. I don't think there's anything more cruel ever because it's so deceptive. Isn't it? Very deceptive.
Yeah, and the ramifications, we just have no idea, you know, and that's why I kind of got going on the whole mitochondria and like how, and like deepening our knowledge about the microbiome and psychobiotics and like the virome, you know, and the importance of that. And like, you know, and how you've been talking about vaccines, like we just don't know like the ramifications of what has been happening in the medical profession. And so we got a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. And I think
we got to work together.
We got to work together because we're going to keep each other going. We have to, because there's so much noise out there that's going to be telling us otherwise. And then, you know, I hit a grocery store like I did the other day, and I heard these two doctors talking in this highfalutin way to each other. And I just, no, we got to do this ourselves, because it's not going to just happen out of thin air. But anyway, but I want to end on like a, you know, like it's holiday season. Yay. I don't know what you're going to do about the cookies and stuff at all the gatherings you're going to go to, but like good luck, and like, you know, bring something nice to the potluck, and, you know, stay strong. I don't know. Have fun still, you know. Yeah.
Choose your favorite stuff, you know. Choose
So.
how you want to feel after the party.
So
choose that too. Remember that you have choices to make.
Exactly. And
Very empowering.
I want to give you guys some just a chance to ask any questions you have about the exam, the practicum, anything in the program. If you don't today, that's totally fine. I'm always available. You can ask me in the group. You can email me. You can give me a call. You can text me, whatever you like. But is there anything right now burning that you want to ask or comment on?
When is the next time we meet?
I know. I want to know too. Well, I'm thinking, yeah, I don't know yet. I have to figure that out, because we still have to do, you know, like this kind of like a meeting, you know. I think this is really important. So I'm going to figure that out and let you know what I'm coming up with. You guys can make suggestions too. Yeah. Feel free to let me know how often you would like to meet.
How much are we allowed to, allowed, it sounds funny. I mean, how much are we able to, hold on, I'm talking, honey, just a minute. How much are we able to ask questions about our practicums? Like, because that's, you know, part of how you're grading us is based off of like what recommendations we do. But like, if we're insecure about anything in any area, is like, can we still like ask a question or two just to make sure we're not totally off base?
Oh, Sutton, I require you to ask.
Okay.
If you are feeling at all like, you know, anything. And so what I'm going to do is I'll start a thread. So let's say you start your practicum and whatever date, and we'll start a thread for you. So it won't be like post after post, right? It'll be posts within that thread. So it'll stay nice and neat and tidy in our Facebook group, but there might be like 100 different, you know, comments on that post, because we could be just going, you know, back and forth through it all. And then if ever there's a time when I can see that people aren't really noticing that there are new posts made for it or anything like that, you know, I might just like say, you know, send a shout out to everybody like, hey, you know, Sutton's got a question in there. Does anybody else have or I might tag somebody who that's their area, something like that. So, or you can tag people, or like, you know, like we'll just have that conversation there. But I highly encourage you to just post your head off. If you have questions, do it, you know, and people will just answer accordingly. If you don't have time, if people are like, okay, you know, someone doesn't have time to answer, or if someone's really into this, you know, this particular case and really wants to help with this or knows a lot about this specific thing.
We all learn from the cases. We all learn from the cases.
We all do. So I highly encourage people to read all.
Even when we have clients, it doesn't have to be just practicum.
Yeah, exactly. So for each person though, like each client, we'll do a specific, like one thread, right? Of like one post, and then everybody will comment under that post.
Okay.
Dr. Sung does that also on her Thriving Child. You know, people are always commenting and giving ideas. I think it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We learn so much from each other.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anyway,
Okay.
Any
That's
other?
good.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, great. Any other
Sorry, Carla,
questions? Yeah.
just a quick question about the final exam. I saw that there's 10 to list 10 of the healing modalities from the holistic therapies, and there's a question very similar in the quiz 4 about listing 10 therapies from the list and writing about them.
Yeah.
I presume we need to do 10 different ones.
Different ones.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah. Okay, that's cool.
I could take it out of the final. No, because then you'll know more. No.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just, I think I'm just going to cut and paste the same ones.
Yeah, wait, now we'll have to compare them though. I didn't think that through, did I? Because now I'll be like, wait, did they talk about this one before? Yeah, 10 new ones, please. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
10 new ones? What do you mean?
Another thing I was going to say about the hyperbaric,
Uh-huh.
I was lucky in my town because we've got an MS sort of healing centre,
Oh.
and they've actually got one, and they do advertise it that you can just, it's been on my list to actually go. They do it on Fridays at like 11:30, so you can go and have it every week if you like. You just pay for batches. I think you pay for like 5 sessions a time. But that's really good, and I thought that would be a great thing to be able to point people towards as well in this area.
Yeah.
So they do sort of say, generally it's for people that have chronic conditions, but they do say anyone can go, because I called up to ask, and she's like, yeah, come along. And I said I might be, talking to other people about it, being a health coach. She said, yeah, that'd be great, and because they're actually wanting it to help fund it as well, I think. So
Wow. Great.
yeah, really good. And also just another quick thing about what Sutton was saying about the healing, summer reaction, the healing reaction. My homeopath said the same thing, because she'd have children come along with eczema. She'd say to the mums, please take them off the steroids. And she'd really try to explain, and it is that explanation. You should say, look, this is the body healing. They've come off. It's likely that there's going to be some eczema coming back because of, it's not suppressed anymore and it's coming back, but you are on homeopathics and it is going to release and it's going to get better. But she did say the same thing. She said so many mums would just get so fearful and panicked about that they would just be like, oh, sorry, I've put them back on the steroids again. She'd be like, oh, no, don't, So, yeah, that's certainly something to work with, and to just educate them so much about how the child's body is working and what's happening and why that's happening again. But it's for the benefit of the child, obviously, in every way.
It's like reminding parents that fevers are good.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. It's like, it's like your body's supposed to do this, and we just have been told otherwise for, the last 50 years that that's bad. And, you're a bad parent if you're allowing them to get a high fever, or if you're allowing them to, whatever, heal through their stuff, get chicken pox, God forbid.
Yeah.
My school just had a book fair where a book swap. So I worked the book swap all day, and people dropped off books and then picked up new books. And I collected a book. It's like a relic. It's a children's book called like The Itchy Scratchy Chicken Pox. And it's like basically a children's book explaining what happens when you get chicken pox, and that it's okay, and that you'll heal and you'll get these itchy spots, and then soon they'll go away. And I was like, I'm keeping this. This is like, it's going to be like a dying thing. I'm like, this is like such a relic.
No, it isn't. We're going to make new books.
Yeah.
Our children will be writing books.
Like just thinking for a minute there, like, oh, what happened to our society? It's like, oh, anyway.
I know.
Yeah. That would be brilliant, to make new books of all of the viruses to explain to children what's happening. That would be great.
I can see you writing children's books.
Yeah, we can all do it. That would be brilliant. That would be big.
We need like a series. Ooh, that's a project.
Oh,
the difference between acute illness and chronic illness.
Yeah, those won't be very fun to read, though.
From the children or from us?
Either one, I don't know. We could try to make them fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you ever see, I told you about Buddies in My Belly. Was it
Yeah.
Buddies?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I still have to get my hands on a copy of those books. Yeah.
and the little buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Buddies
Oh,
in My
they have buddies too, right?
Belly. Yeah, I sent it to my daughter when she had a baby. Sent her a package. The book comes with a probiotic and 4 little buddies that look like Bifido and this one, like she has names. That sounds like the original Latin names.
Awesome. Oh, cool.
Buddies in My Belly. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, does
Thank
anybody
you
have
so
any
much.
other questions? Yes. Does anybody have questions or anything or comments?
No, we're going to be the Claire Zamet. They're going to be the feminine power out there.
Yeah, girl power. We'll see if we get any men in the next one. That'll be cool.
You think so?
Yeah, we'll see. All right.
We are.
Well, everybody have a wonderful.
Did any men apply?
Nope. Actually, one was going to, and he's a grandpa who, grandfather of some kids but he recently took care, now he's caring for them. So he said he didn't have time, but he's been on my list for years, and he always replies personally to certain things, and he's really engaged. But yeah, he's the only one that was going to, so it was all women. Yeah.
Yeah, but he certainly has a feminine side to him.
Yes. Nurturer, right?
So it's still feminine power.
Yeah, all this stuff's on his radar, Yeah. Well, I just want to say, everybody, have a wonderful holiday season.
Wonderful holiday.
Everybody stay safe and warm, and enjoy your families. I know I'm going to do that, and it's just been wild and crazy ride. And
stay healthy.
Started, as you see from my list of stuff I have to do still. It's we just started. So
when do you do that? I'd love to see your time management sheet.
Yeah, well, I keep lots of lists. I do. And I keep lots of Google Docs. But anyway, all right. So thank you for showing up today. I know it's, into the holidays already, and it's Sunday, just a couple days before Christmas for whoever celebrates Christmas. So thanks for being here, and it's just been wonderful, and I'm really, really looking forward to the new year, and I wish you, and I hope that, and everybody makes these New Year's resolutions, I don't know, I just think we should do that every day, but I do think of New Year's as a nice time, it's just pushing you to reflect and to, and to be just looking forward to what's next, that's what I wish for you, is that just time to just be able to look forward to what's next. So anyway, happy holidays. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Carla. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Sutton. Thank you, Carla. Thank you.
Guys.
Happy holidays.
See you next time. Bye-bye.